What if the only person capable of saving a comatose millionaire was someone no one took seriously? Laura was hired to take care of André, a rich man trapped in a vegetative state, and in an even worse marriage. His wife had already given up on him. The doctors saw no hope, and everyone believed he would never wake up. But Laura? She was not like the others. Using unconventional methods, including a stowaway cat and an unexpected horse, she set out to prove that André was still there. But what no one imagined was that when she finally woke up, the first words she spoke would change everything. Stay to the end to discover how this nurse turned the tide in a way no one saw coming. The imposing gate of the mansion rose before Laura as she parked her motorcycle near the curb. She barely had time to get off when a suspicious-looking security guard approached. "Hey, girl, this isn't the parking lot of a pizzeria." Laura took off her helmet and shook out her hair, giving him a wry smile. "Fortunately, because my delivery is much more complicated, an oblivious millionaire and an insufferable wife." The security guard raised an eyebrow, clearly surprised by the response. "Is that the new nurse?" "In person, and with a diploma that cost me many sleepless nights." "Now then, can we go straight to the patient, or do I need to answer another questionnaire about my life?" He snorted, but led the way, motioning for her to follow him. The garden was immaculate, and the mansion looked like a modern castle, with its glass walls and white columns. A maid opened the door before Laura could knock, and there, standing like a statue framed by luxury and disdain, was Helena. "You must be the nurse." "Laura." "Whatever." Helena took a lazy sip from her wineglass and pointed to the top of the stairs with a careless gesture. "It's up there. Don't ask me for details, I just know you're breathing." "It's good to know you at least understand that." Helena narrowed her eyes, but Laura was already up the stairs before any venomous response was given. As she entered the room, she smelled the characteristic odor of closed environment and medication. André lay on the huge bed, his pale skin contrasting with the dark sheets. Next to him, a heart monitor beeped in rhythm. "It's okay, boss," he murmured as he pulled the supplies from his bag. "It looks like they've been treating you like an expensive piece of furniture, but don't worry. I'm great with furniture, and hopefully even better with unconscious millionaires." He started checking your vitals, adjusting your pillows, and making a quick assessment of your overall condition. "If you hear me blink twice, oh yeah, it's still not working." A hoarse sound escaped André's lips, something between a sigh and a guttural noise. Laura froze. Wait, was that a snore? Damn, she was already thinking she was in a waking coma state. She took a deep breath and smiled to herself. There was work to be done, and this was just the beginning. The next day, Laura encountered resistance as she tried to improve André's routine. In the kitchen, she ordered a natural juice for her patient, only to hear an unusual response from the chef. "He doesn't even taste anything. Why work?" Laura folded her arms. "Well, in that case, we can also give him dog food." The chef's eyes went wide. "What? You heard him? If he doesn't try it, it's the same thing, right? This is crazy." "That's exactly right. But it seems like this is the only way I can convince someone to take proper care of it." The woman snorted, but handed him the juice without further discussion. When she returned to the room, she found Helena looking at André with boredom. "I bet in less than a month you'll get tired and give up," commented the wife, without even turning to look at her. Laura smiled out of the corner of her eye. "I bet in less than a month you'll realize you lost a better husband than you thought." Helena rolled her eyes. "If he shows signs of improvement in a month, I'll buy you a cruise away from here." Laura held out her hand. Closed. Helena hesitated and then shook the nurse's hand, laughing. "Good luck. You'll need it." Laura looked at André, her smile now more determined. "Let's go see." She approached the bed and, in an instinctive act, took the patient's hand. So, boss, will you help me win this bet? And for an instant, she swore her fingers twitched slightly. Laura was sure that Andre's fingers had moved, but before she could celebrate, the bedroom door opened. In walked a stern-faced woman with a set of clean sheets. "If you need anything, let me know," he said, without even looking at Laura. The nurse folded her arms. "Can we change her sheets now?" The woman frowned. "Why, she doesn't even notice." Laura narrowed her eyes. "How about you? Will you notice if I put a pillow over your face?" The housekeeper's eyes widened like saucers, but she began to change the sheets without argument. Laura smiled, satisfied. In the days that followed, she devoted herself entirely to Andre. Small changes in your routine could make a difference. Listening to soft music, massaging atrophied muscles, opening windows to let in some fresh air. "You know, boss, they say some people hear everything when they're unconscious. So if you can hear me, move a finger." "Ah, shit, I forgot. It's still not working." Between one physical therapy session and another, Laura began to observe more closely every reaction, no matter how small. She noticed that every time she spoke around him, the muscles in his face seemed to tighten slightly. But the real breakthrough came when she decided to try musical stimuli. "Okay, let's see if you like music. I'll start with a classic. If it bothers you too much, blink twice." He connected his cell phone to a small speaker and played a soft melody. A few seconds passed with no reaction, and then a subtle movement. Andre's fingers moved. Laura held her breath and felt her heart racing. Was it a request for another song? "Blink twice if you want to rock." She ran to Helena, who was on the balcony having a drink. "She moved." Helena looked up from her cell phone. "Excellent. Now, if you'll excuse me, I'm busy not caring." Laura clenched her fists, but took a deep breath to calm herself. She decided to try a more daring test. She went to the kitchen and asked Andre for a natural juice. The chef looked at her as if she had ordered a unicorn dish. "He doesn't even taste anything. Why work?" Laura folded her arms. "Well, in that case, we might as well feed him dog food." The woman's eyes widened like saucers. "What? You heard him. If he doesn't try it, it's the same thing, right? This is crazy." "Exactly. But it seems like this is the only way I can convince someone to take proper care of it." The chef snorted, but handed him the juice without further discussion. That night, as he was getting his last checkup of the day, Laura took Andre's hand. "I know you're there. I know you hear me. So give me a sign. Anything. Quiet." She sighed, feeling a little discouraged, but just as she was about to let go of his hand, she felt something. A weak grip. Her eyes widened like saucers. Wait. Was that real? Her heart raced. She looked up into his face, and for a second she swore she saw a faint gleam in his eyes. If that was a hello, I'll consider it a breakthrough. And he left the room with a smile of pure hope. Laura felt her heart pounding in her chest. She wasn't imagining things. Andre had actually squeezed her hand, albeit subtly. It was a step forward. Small, but a step forward. The next day he decided to double the stimuli. If the music made him react, maybe other sensations would work as well. "Okay, boss, let's see what you like." He tried different fragrances, holding a cotton ball soaked in essential oils to Andre's nose. Lavender, peppermint, vanilla. Nothing. "Okay, maybe you like food smells better. I'll fry up some bacon and bring it in here." The silence in the room seemed to judge her. What was it? Bacon even works for vegetarians. As she chuckled to herself, she heard the door open. Helena was leaning against the door, looking at her with a mixture of boredom and curiosity. "You talk to her as if you were going to answer. And you talk as if he were already dead." Helena narrowed her eyes. "I don't have time for your jokes. I just came to tell you that you have until the end of the week. If there's no real progress, you're out." Laura folded her arms. Define real progress. something other than an involuntary spasm or a sigh. Like she opens her eyes and tells you to go to hell, that would be a great start. Laura forced a smile, but felt the weight of the threat. She needed something stronger. Hours later, while researching neurological stimuli on the internet, she found some curious information. Cats. Studies showed that the presence of a cat, especially purring, had calming and stimulating effects on brain-damaged patients. A cat, huh? The idea seemed absurd, but it made sense. That night, Laura visited a cattery and spent her savings on a Russian blue cat. Small, soft fur, piercing green eyes. "Nice to meet you, little Andre," she murmured, stroking the feline's head. "Now you're going to help me bring Big Andre back." The next day, he waited until the house was quiet before sneaking the cat into Andre's room. He placed it on the bed, close to the patient's chest. The feline purred softly, curling up. "Come on, boss. Give me a sign." Long minutes passed. The cat remained curled up, emitting soft vibrations, and then a tear slipped from the corner of Andre's eye. Laura covered her mouth with her hands. "Oh my God!" That's when the door opened wide and Helena walked in. "What is that?" The cat jumped out of bed and hid behind the armchair. Laura slowly turned around. "Technically it's a cat, but yes, it also has a superior air." "Have you gone mad?" "Just a little. But look," she pointed at Andre. "He cried." Helena narrowed her eyes. "That doesn't prove anything." Of course, because her warm presence moved him." Helena snorted. "Take that thing and get it out of here." "But, or you go with it." Laura looked at Andre, then at the cat, then at Helena. She sighed, took the cat in her arms and left the room, not before muttering, "This cruise will be worth every second." Laura held little Andre in her arms and felt her chest swell with frustration. How could Helena be so blind? Andre was reacting, but if she wanted to keep helping, she would need something stronger, something impossible to ignore. And then, like a bolt of lightning, the idea came to her. The horses. He remembered what little information he had managed to get from the housekeeper. Andre loved riding horses. If a cat had already done something, a horse could do so much more. The next morning, Laura met with a riding trainer and arranged a special performance in the garden of the mansion. Of course, she had to bribe the security guard with strong coffee to make sure Helena didn't know anything. When he reached Andre's room, he leaned over him and whispered, "Today, boss, it will be different, I promise." With a calculated effort, he transferred Andre to a wheelchair and carried him to the balcony. That's it. Now all that was left was the icing on the cake. And then the back door opened. A magnificent black horse entered the garden, led by an experienced rider. The animal trotted elegantly, exhibiting fluid movements. Laura kept her eyes fixed on Andre. Nothing. She frowned and approached him. "Come on, boss. That's what you liked best." No reaction. That's when the worst happened. The balcony door opened wide and Helena appeared, accompanied by the housekeeper, the chef, and the security guard. "What the hell is going on here?" Laura froze. Experimental therapy?" Helena approached her with shining eyes. "He's coming! You're fired! Get your stuff and get out of my house now!" Laura's heart sank. Had she failed? But before she could react, a hoarse sound cut through the air. Laura? Time froze. Everyone turned to Andre. His lips moved slowly, his voice faint but audible. Laura. What happened next was chaos. The housekeeper dropped the sheets. The chef covered her mouth with her hands. The security guard cursed. Helena staggered, wide-eyed. "What?" Laura couldn't hold back the tears. "I'm here, boss." Andre swallowed hard. "Thank you." Helena recovered quickly, trying to get closer. "Amar, you're back. You called me, didn't you?" But Andre gathered all his strength to whisper, "Get out of here!" Helena froze. She took a deep breath. And although with difficulty repeated, Get out." The silence was overwhelming. Helena turned red with fury and pointed an accusing finger at Laura. "This is your fault. She poisoned her head against me." Laura folded her arms. "I didn't even need to. You did this all by yourself." Helena trembled with rage, but realized she had lost. "Excellent. I was actually going to ask for a divorce, and I get half the fortune." But Andre's lawyer, who had just arrived, cleared his throat. "I'm sorry, madam, but as the marriage was short-lived and there is a prenuptial agreement, your share will be very modest." Helena's face paled. "What?" Laura smiled. "Looks like someone's going to have to do away with the expensive drinks." Helena stomped out and closed the door. The housekeeper, the chef, and even the security guard looked at each other, trying not to smile. Laura knelt down next to Andre. "You did it, boss." He looked at her, and this time his eyes were full of life. Months later, Andre had regained much of his movement, and his relationship with Laura was growing every day. One afternoon, in the garden of the mansion, he took her hand. "Laura, would you stay with me?" "No? Would you stay with me, not just as a nurse?" Her heart skipped a beat. He smiled, a little shaky but determined. "Marry me?" Tears fell before she could answer. "Yes." And then the kiss happened, sealing not only a story of recovery, but of love and redemption.